Da, 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 da. It's us. It's ImmaLetYouFinish. Part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Court and Amy. It's us. It's another week.
I'm looking at Courtney's. Courtney moved his base of locations to another room. Yeah. So we're having a competing gold record thing. So you've got Fuji's good. Is that Savage Garden?
That's Savage Garden.
I gotta say,
on this wall over here is Fuji's Savage
right?
Garden.
Okay.
The Wyclef's The First Carnival.
Okay.
And that one is Maxwell Embria. And then on the other side, there's more. When we see that view,
I think I have the ultimate one. All right, so I have on the other room, I have D'Angelo, which I still don't understand why, because I did nothing, but fine. Tony, which I think is good. Which one is that? Sons of Soul. Is it Sons of Soul? No. House of Music. Brian Knight. I'm sort of ashamed at that one, but I keep it up there anyway. And I think my piece de resistance is the Amy Winehouse one, because they didn't have a lot of them.
Well, on this side,
but Savage Garden, I gotta say, that stands out.
Yeah,
is that truly, madly, deeply Savage
Garden?
Yes,
that is truly, madly, deeply Savage Garden. And then and you can't see this side since we're gonna read them all. Like I had to throw some out because they got destroyed in the fire, and I was like, "You should have just had them fixed." I was like, "When you have a fire and all your shit is fucked up, you don't give a fuck. You don't want anything that's broken. You're like, I don't want it in my house."
Well, I want to say. Truly, I think one day we'll do the songs that we very kind of like whisper that we really love. And I will say it out loud. Truly, Madly, Deeply is a great song.
And Darren is a great songwriter who's
Darren?
Darren,
you know their names?
Yes, he's one of the members of Savage Garden, Darren Hayes, and he's a great writer and he's on a bunch of people's albums now. Like he's really a great song. Well,
I just wanted to applaud the eclectic.
Yes, the eclecticness. So what's going on? It's been a week. Some things happened. There was an MTV VMA Awards.
And I sort of bounced in and out on it. Yeah. First off, it was literally 10 blocks from my house, so I had no choice to know what was going on because they were blocking off streets, and you started seeing a lot of people. Can I just say that this might be some weird remnant of my past and being more involved in interviews and I find the whole setup and breakdown of sets really kind of fabulous. I love seeing all the union workers. Is Viacom using union workers these days?
No, they have to. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I love like the breaking down of the sets. You're sitting there going, something's going to happen, and then the next day they were breaking down the set and. Listen, it's fun to see creative activity going on.
As someone who's worked the MTV Awards from a lot of different angles, from you working at MTV, then, really my career being in video promotion, going to the awards for years and years and years. It's the process. I love all of that. I love it. I love, that's the part of the industry that I really loved. I love the process of creating the show. Yeah. I love all of the magic of all the departments coming together and all that hard work. I mean, there were the times like when Ricky Martin did the VMAs that year, and it was like his biggest year in America, I'd say, for his American audience. And just all the logistics of pulling that together. And he had these giant trees.
North American on Puerto Rico is the United States.
Yes, it is. But I mean, in continental America.
I know what you mean.
Because he was a huge star, like playing stadiums everywhere in the world by the time he had that explosion here. But pulling that all together, just so many. I have so many different experiences of doing the awards and being in there, and I just love all of that. The rehearsal process, and I like seeing the sets come together when the lights first come on. And all of that
Well, I was seeing it all from outside, but all right. So I did, even though 90 Day Fiancé was on, I did bounce back and forth, and I have to say now, on one hand, because I'm old. I was confused as to which blonde person I was looking at. There were a lot of blonde people. I couldn't quite figure out I know who Doja Cat is. I didn't identify her because she has a very ambiguous face in a lot of ways. She looks like a lot of people, and yet she looks like herself at the same time.
Right.
I was not mad at this show. They focused on the 40th anniversary. They tied the past and the present together very well without making it a nostalgia act. The performances, nobody appeared to be lip syncing to the best of my knowledge. And if they did, they were doing a really good job of it. I mean, I thought the performances were good. I thought it's we can beat the obvious dead horses. Oh, it's an award show for a channel that doesn't show videos anymore. I mean, okay, but we know that it's like 5 guys in a room decide who wins this thing. But I thought they did a good job.
Well, the people vote. It is a vote. Like, the industry people get their ballots. Like, we used to vote, when I was at Columbia. So you get your vote. Listen, MTV, ShimTV, right? It's like BET Awards and all of these things. It's become an annual thing that people do. And now it's really more about the impressions they're going to get after online, right? And the online numbers, because no one watches TV. Young people don't watch. Like, I speak to young people, they don't even know where MTV is on their channel. And a lot of these young kids, and a lot of these young kids, they don't even have cable, you know what I mean? So, but with that being said, it
was fun.
It was fun. And, I thought the performances that I saw were great. Listen, you and I have had a debate about I don't know why I always say Chloe Halle, but, the Chloe Halle girls. And, listen, if she made a choice, and her choice now is more of a sexual route.
Which one was it? Chloe, right?
And I have to honestly say, I didn't hate her performance. It actually made me pay attention to it more, because when the song first came and I saw the video, I was like, okay, another girl is like, I'm grown, I'm naked. This is the oldest one in the book. Everybody goes, I'm grown, I'm naked. The boys take off their shirt, the girls like, fine. Right. But I liked her performance. I did. I was like, well, okay. Listen, I'm not even mad at this. Is it sexual? Sure. Are we sexual beings? Sure.
I think
I like the dancing. I like the staging. And, and I was into what she was giving me.
I think there,
I still don't care. I still don't care. But it's like, I enjoyed it.
We don't have, it was fun. And again, we've had this discussion, and I don't want to go way into a rabbit hole, but there is a difference between sexual and humping the stage. Come on. And it's not because I'm a prude. I'm just like, can we in 2021 find a way for women and men, for that matter, to express sexuality and ownership of sexuality and longing and gender roles without going down the most obvious path in the world? Right. But I'll give her that. I was very happy to see St. John getting so much of a highlight, though it would have been nice if they'd let him finish a goddamn song.
Yeah.
He literally would do 3 verses. No, you can see the rest. And I'm like, no, I want to see the rest right now. If it's all the same to you.
But here's the thing, right? That's really where they're driving everything to online, because they know no one was watching it on television.
Right.
So the people who love him are going to go. And it is good. Listen, you're MTV. You should be showing those artists. You should still, if you're trying to say you're still an arbiter of music, you should be breaking acts like the way you do. And
he's a Brooklyn guy too. So that was nice.
I loved seeing Cyndi Lauper.
Oh,
I would love seeing Cyndi Lauper. And I loved seeing Madonna. Listen, I know, you know how I go in and out with Madonna. That Madonna is still my number one girl. She is. I fucking love Madonna. Have I hated some of her ridiculousness? Yeah, I have. But then I'm going to tell you, this weekend, when I saw her, she could barely talk with the grills and turning around with the ass. I just fell in love with Madonna all over again, because I was like, you know what? Honestly, you have always been Madonna.
She's Madonna.
Why do I expect you to suddenly be something? You've always been Madonna, and you're going to be Madonna. And I absolutely appreciate the fact that you're like, I'm still fucking Madonna, even at 60-something.
Freaking out about it just cracked me. Did she look ridiculous? Yes. Has she looked ridiculous for years? But people are like, oh, she's so thirsty. I'm like, I'm sorry. This is the woman whose first major television appearance was wearing a boy toy bucklet and rolling around on the stage in a wedding gown. She defines thirsty. Why are we now? If Cyndi Lauper had come out like that, we would have said, this is crazy. That's not Cyndi. I just thought it's so funny. And again, I will go back on my soapbox. No, I don't ever remember anybody saying Prince should be acting his age on stage.
Never. No.
Never.
And the thing is, what do we expect from Madonna? Madonna has always been Madonna.
She's
always.
Madonna. She's Madonna.
And you know what? And I absolutely, for some reason in that moment, I was like, yes, this is ridiculous. And I absolutely motherfucking appreciate, because it really reminded me of like the rock stars of that era. It's like, she's one of the big superstars of that era who's still giving me just fucking crazy energy. And I loved it as a woman. She's like, no, I don't have to conform to being this old lady that you want me to be and dress a certain way and not say certain things. And it's like, you know what? Good for you, lady. Good.
Well, she could afford better plastic surgery.
Well, listen, that's a whole different story. I don't like a fake ass on anybody. Here's the thing about them. They don't look great, really.
No.
On anybody, really. After a while. In the beginning, when people first get them, they're like these perfect things. Then once they settle in, they look like that. And
that was my issue. Yeah, the rest of it is like I said, everybody was clutching their pearls. I'm like, it's the thing that drives me nuts, and then the thing that drives me nuts is the acting your age. Fuck you.
Right. Because what does that even mean? What does that mean?
It means what some man has decided you should. Look, women over. I keep saying this, and I know you think I'm. Look, would I go up there? I'm the same age as Madonna. I'm a year younger. Mm-hmm. Would I go up there dressed like that? No, but I never would anyway. What does acting your age mean? In a lot of ways, women are much more comfortable in their bodies once they get past 40, because we don't have to worry about fucking getting pregnant anymore.
Right.
So we can enjoy things. Like I said, she drives me nuts. I wish, it's ridiculous. It's Madonna. It's ridiculous. But just come on. There are many things you can criticize it for. Let's lay off the pie. Why is it okay to body shame her and nobody else?
Right. Real talk.
So anyway, all right. So speaking of shame, bad segue once again. The Met Gala, which has sort of lost its importance. It used to be a little.
The only people missing from that shit was me and you. That's how random it was this year.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have like influencers, and I'm like, who are you? Like,
I was like, who are these people?
Who are
they? Were like.
Not because we're old.
No, it's not because we're old.
Who are they?
It was like, here comes Madison Kakalakapoo. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Who is that bitch?
I was like, who are you? Why are you there?
Who is she?
And listen, I love Jackie Aina. I'm a huge Jackie Aina fan.
Who's Jackie Aina?
She's a beauty influencer, a black beauty influencer from YouTube. I love her. When I saw her on the carpet, I was like, one, I hate what you're wearing. And two, I love me some Jackie Aina, but if I see you and all these TikTok and YouTube people, the tide has changed. And it seems really funny, like the theme was American designer, and everybody's like, what are you wearing? Louis Vuitton.
It wasn't American designers, it was American independence, but they should have been wearing more American designers. But it was
American independence to American fashion. Right. The entire exhibit is new American designers. And then, because it's broken in two parts. The second Met Gala, which will be in the original May, is the second part. And that's going to be the second, which is going to be now going back to the established and the classic American designers. So this was such an opportunity. I saw all of these black people. I'm wearing Versace. I'm like, where was the time for somebody to go in and say, I'm wearing vintage Tracy Reese. I'm wearing Byron Lars. I'm wearing Baron Claiborne. I'm wearing a vintage Patrick Kelly. I feel like it was such a moment to highlight amazing black designers. And what do we get? I'm wearing Dior.
Well, who did highlight young black designers was Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, because the woman that designed that dress that everybody's losing their fucking shit over, young, black, immigrant, politically engaged woman, indie designer.
Right.
Go figure. The one that drives everybody. And I didn't have a problem. Listen, nobody pays for those tickets. Number one, let's just start for that. I mean,
somebody does pay for the ticket. So whoever has invited you has paid bought it, but they bought that table and paid for those.
Well, she did not, because she is a New York City elected official. The Met is. I saw somebody posted if you're an elected official, Carolyn Maloney, also Congresswoman. If you're the Met is, among other things, a New York City cultural institution. It gets funding from the city and the state. So AOC was not. forking over $3,500.
First of all, I think it's ridiculous. That was just people say, that's again political football, right? Well, she was there, da 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 da. I'm like, I don't want to hear that from a group of people whose whole thing is capitalism is good. We shouldn't demonize people for making money. Democrats, they have this thing where like Democrats are all just an independence and a socialist and poor people. And that's not the case. And that's not what people are saying. And you know what? With saying tax the rich, yeah. When you find out the people like Trump and Bezos and all of these people know how to work a tax code and they don't pay anything, it's like, stop shitting that in the face of people, because you know what? The rules you are setting up that you think are going to work for you are going to come back and bite you in the ass. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, if she had been white and blonde, there wouldn't have been. I mean, she's a lightning rod. I have no problem with her.
They just have a problem because she showed up. The funny thing about that girl is, and I think you and I know this as New Yorkers, yes, she is a voice in the Democratic Party, but her area is a part of the Bronx and Queens. You would think she runs this town she runs like a very small section of the city. The way they want to give her all of this power, it's like she runs a small, like not even two neighborhoods, a couple of neighborhoods.
I would like to, just to get back to close, I would like to just say, and to me, she is the original blonde ambition and bombshell. Debbie Harry, who has the good work done, who is older than Madonna. Debbie Harry looked amazing. She was wearing Zac Posen, so she was wearing an American designer, and just looked amazing. Yeah. And I thought Iman looked amazing.
Well, listen, Iman is always going to show up and be like, this is how it's done, kids. Take out your pad. Take some notes. Rihanna, who everybody was, I didn't get that, but it's Rihanna. But it's Rihanna. She's bulletproof at this point. But yeah, the Met Gala. Yeah, she's bulletproof, but I hated what the fuck
it was awful. On. Like, it really was kind of awful. And I thought Timothy Chalamet, who I just find absolutely adorable, and went to LaGuardia High School, so I think that's really cool. He looked great. I thought Naomi Osaka looked uncomfortable, but great.
Okay, yeah,
it was a tribute to those. She was making.
Yes, but here's the thing.
That's the uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. We can't take these. Look, she's an athlete, and this is not her world. This is like, so I thought the statement of her being there was great. I thought the statement of Amanda Gorman being there was great. I appreciate.
Well, they were the co-chairs.
Right, there were, and Chalamet, and it's just, you can't expect. Come on, this is not what they do. They are not models. They are not clothes horses.
She and her sister co-designed that outfit with Louis Vuitton. That was on purpose.
All right, well, good. I'm not mad at her about that. Let her have her moment.
That's your opinion. I could think it looked like shit. You don't have to agree with me.
I didn't say.
I hated it. I hated it. I didn't hate it. That's the wrong word. How do I feel about it?
It didn't work.
It kind of like...
It didn't work.
I felt like I got what they were going for the hair, but it could have been elevated.
Her makeup actually was the problem. But quickly, let's mention, before we get into somebody that we can all agree everybody hates.
Okay.
At this point, the women and men's finals at the U.S. Open.
Oh, yeah. Listen, we have some good tennis. What we did not see is a Grand Slam victory. Good. So Daniil won, Medvedev, he won the men's side, and Emily, what's her name? Raducanu?
No, it's not Emily. Emma. Her name is Emma.
Emma. Okay. All right. Emma. Her name is Emma. Sorry.
Excuse me. Her name is Emma.
I'm sorry, Miss Linden. I just felt like my teacher yelled at me through the screen.
You said Emily. Her name is Emma. That's all. Her name is Emma. She was great. And Layla Fernandez was great. I thought, I was happy with either one of them winning. I thought it was tennis is not a sport. I like tennis a lot. It's fun to watch. It's not my sport in the sense that I still don't understand how they score things.
I love tennis. I go to the Open every year. I didn't go this year though.
It's great. And it's very democratic in a lot of ways. I love the New York crowd. I was with both of those women. I will say that the only point I turned is when Layla was bitching that Emma was bleeding down her leg, for fuck's sake. She's bleeding.
I was like, she was like, why is this taking so long? I'm like, okay, kids. I'm like, y'all, listen. Like, it's like, let's not do that.
Bleeding. Yeah, so I thought it was great. And look, I think Djokovic is obviously a great player, but I've lost all interest in him because he's McNasty, McAnti-vaxxer, McMisogynist, Mc-whatever. So you know what? It would have been great, yes, in terms of blah, blah, blah. But to me, he has lost the goodwill. What was wonderful about seeing those two women play is that you really seriously could have come out of it being happy with whoever won.
Yeah,
because they both put on a show. And they're
young and they're new names. And, you know, like with everything, right? Like with music, with sports, it comes time. You need the new blood to come in that next round. It's like it can't just be the same names over and over.
Two young biracial Canadians. You got to love it. Though Emma lives in England now, but two young biracial Canadians. The families look, everything immigrant, both children of immigrants. I mean, just on a symbolic level, it was nice to see. So, cool to see Virginia Wade in the audience. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, that was cool. All right. So speaking of women that we all hate, you want to start with this one? Because she gives me agita. She really does.
Like, who are we talking about next? I don't even remember.
Nikki. Oh, okay, kid, we can just stop it there. How's that?
And that's it. That's all. It. I can listen. I'm just gonna say this. And I'm going to say it all allegedly. I just feel like I wouldn't take my advice, medical advice, from someone who I feel has, let's just say, made some questionable decisions. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I wouldn't take my medical advice
with questionable situations.
No, you can say it. He was convicted of sexual abuse. You don't have to. There's no allegedly with this. I mean, he's not allegedly. He was convicted. He did. I mean, but look, I have longstanding issues with Nicki Minaj. I thought she started out great. She was a breath of fresh air. She was lots of fun. She clearly became somebody who weaponized her fans, weaponized this fake feminism. I found it very disappointing. She appears to not be a nice person. She's talking out her ass, her surgically enhanced ass on this because the friend of the cousin who knew somebody down the street got a reaction.
It's so fucking irresponsible.
But
it's like, just, lady.
And she took down the tweet. Look, you don't take medical advice. Here's the thing. I don't go to the guy who runs the bodega on the corner for medical advice. I go to a doctor for medical advice. That's why they spend all that time in school. So when people say celebrity, it's not the celebrity part. That's not what they do. It's like, I'm going to do my own research, as opposed to the 10 years of research that has been done. So do you, Nikki, fucking die? Not die. I don't want her to die. But if you're whining about, I can't go to the Met Gala because I had to get vaccinated, let's find out, was she even invited to the Met
yes. Gala? Here's the thing. She's always usually invited, but I don't believe that.
No, me neither.
I don't believe. You know why? Because
of the husband.
That's right. And, he was, I believe, he had to just plead guilty for not registering as a sex offender.
And he's being sued.
And he can be sentenced up to 10 years.
Right.
And you have the young lady who was 16 at the time is saying that she's being harassed by both of them. And it's like, you know what? I personally don't think she wants to be any place where she's got to really get a mic put in her face.
Exactly.
Because guess what? If she performed on that show, you can say I'm not doing the carpet, but there comes a point you're going to come face to face with somebody. And honestly, I don't think she wants to answer a lot of really tough questions.
No, not at all. So I think
that's my opinion.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think she was invited. I think the Met Gala is being classy enough not to say it. She's not relevant to the cultural conversation right now. I don't think she was invited. So instead of saying I wasn't invited,
no, she's been there before.
No, now.
I think she was invited. I do think she was invited. I don't think she would not be invited. I think she probably was invited. I think throwing that out there was really irresponsible. Here's the thing. You don't have to believe in vaccines. That is your choice. But putting out some crazy shit, my friend's cousin, something was supposed to get married, now he's impotent, all of that is just like, You know.
Yeah, you take your medical advice from doctors.
That's my thing. Like, talk to your doctor. Don't listen to someone. I'm trying not to judge anybody's life. We all have made our choices. Who our partners
you can judge.
are, what
I think we need to judge.
I think
we need to judge.
I just think.
Look,
I just say look at the source of where you're getting your information from and understand why. Like, look at the source.
Well, here's what, and then. Here's a little thing. When you get on a subway, I want the guy that's driving the subway or the woman that's driving the subway to be a subway driver. Okay? So if I'm going to the doctor, I don't get your medical advice from the musical equivalent of Dr. Nick from The Simpsons.
Well, I got into a debate with somebody about Naomi Osaka and
Naomi Osaka.
Yeah, about you'll see it's gonna come full circle. Naomi Osaka and about leaving the tournament or, when things aren't going well and being like my health. And they were like, she has that right. And I turned to that person and said, well, you flew here to New York. How would you feel? Would you feel the same way if your pilot halfway across the country was like, I just can't do this right now. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Would you feel the same way? It's like, watch. I just feel like everybody has to stop placing themselves in the place of other people and make decisions based on sound shit for yourself. This fact shit, don't listen. I don't think you need to listen to any celebrity about 2 or 4. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
And deal with a professional. And stop. Everybody wants to make these mental health sort of predictions like, I would do this with Naomi and I would do this because of this one. And it's like, it's idiotic. Like, stop taking your advice from people whose job it is basically to either entertain you or to sell you something for a low, low price.
All right. Yeah, I think we agree on that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Africa Bambaataa is a fucking criminal and he's...
Wait, but do you know what's crazy? Do you feel like you've been around in the scene for a long time?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like there were really rumblings and weird conversations kind of?
All right, I have to be honest. It didn't shock me when the first allegations of sexual assault with pedophilia. Let's just call it pedophilia.
Right,
it didn't a sexual rape. Let's just call it rape and pedophilia. I hate sexual abuse, sexual assault. Let's call it rape because that's what it is. It didn't surprise me because the couple of times I've been around Bambaataa, and I hope this doesn't come off offensive, but he gives off a kind of strange vibe. And I can't figure out what that, granted, he's dressed like a space alien, so that would be part of it.
Right.
But he's always kind of given off a vibe. There's never been a Mrs. Bambaataa or a Mr. Bambaataa for that. Him being gay, we don't even know if he's gay. We know that he abuses young boys.
Well, he hasn't been, he's not convicted, so we have to say there's allegations, and there have been, right?
All right, there have been allegations in the past, and now there's actually
lawsuits.
Look, what he's accused of is just, there is no defense. He's accused of sex trafficking. He's accused of rape. There's no defense.
There's no defense. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's no defense. He an uncontested legend and groundbreaking artist without a question. There is no debate about that. But he's clearly a fucked up human being. So it's sad. It's sad to see. It's sad. I don't know. Maybe I just think that it's. I didn't hear rumors, but it didn't surprise me. I don't think people can be cured of being a rapist. It's one of the. I just think it's a despicable crime. It has nothing to be
right, because that's
right. It has nothing
a whole
to do
category unto itself.
It has nothing to do with sex. It's power. It's violence. The young man that he and I'm going to believe the victim, because why come forward? The young man. It just messes you up, and I hope that justice is served. That's all I can say. And it's very disturbing, and I would like to see. I think it's because Bambaataa is not like a name on everybody's lips, that he is sort of like, you know what I mean? It's not like he's well known and important, but he's not like super famous. You know what I mean? So it's not like an R. Kelly situation where the guy is super famous. But if he's convicted, I wouldn't mind seeing a few of his awards. He's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But if he were, I wouldn't mind seeing that taken away. I think that's fair because he was doing these crimes while he was, so it's very important.
Horrible shit, man.
And the Zulu Nation is very upset because the Zulu Nation is kind of saying, hey, like this isn't us. This is him. You got to look at him. So I understand their point of view. They should not be painted with the same disgusting.
Well, the horrible thing becomes, right? They were so intertwined for so long. Yeah. And then you start to be like, well, did anybody see anything? Because if there was all of this going around and there were young people around, it's like when you hear all of the R. Kelly stories, right? It's all of these people like, yeah, I saw him do this and I saw him being abusive to Aaliyah.
And it's like,
I saw these young
you?
girls all around. And it's like, there was a lot of people seemingly around seeing young girls saying all this uncomfortable shit. I'm trying to imagine me. I know I worked around some crazy shit, but nothing with young people, like nothing where anybody was being abused. Just, the normal crazy music.
Oh, I did.
Shit.
Okay, I'll tell you off thing. But I saw something going on, and I even said it to the publicist that this is starting to make me a little. I'll tell you off. I want to tell you off camera. One situation for sure. One situation I suspected, and I'll tell you off Zoom because
I'm going to have to say
because it involves people we have a great deal of affection for.
Yeah, because I'm going to say I feel like I would say something. I wouldn't walk around and see a bunch of kids going into adult sexual situations.
Yeah.
Be okay because I have a sister, I have nieces, I have nephews. I just couldn't picture them being on the road with vultures.
I'll mention it to you when we get off because it's always been in.
Yikes! Y'all see this is the thing, kids. If you're lucky enough to be in an industry for a really long time and you're doing a lot of shit, sometimes listen. I always said if I was a different kind of bitch, Amy, there would be a book in me just to tell my story, but I wouldn't do it because it involves so many other people, and I don't think it's fair to tell their shit that I just feel like all of that has to just die with me. You know what I mean? It's just stuff I can.
That's not the case with this. The case with this is the people involved are people we really do like a lot. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you later when we get off. Have that little nugget.
This is even people that we like a lot. Like Situation, honey. So much, all of the craziness shit. So much craziness that people have. I love it too when you hear folks talking about certain situations and they're all giving their opinions, and I'm just sitting back like, if you only knew, bitch, y'all are missing the big chunk that actually makes what you think you're saying the thing.
All right. Do you want to talk? I don't know, more uplifting though, some of the fun stuff we're listening to now, or the stuff that's kind of.
What do you think of Spacey Casey?
I thought you said Stacey Casey.
Spacey Casey, that's her.
Spacey Casey. I like Casey Musgraves a lot. I came to her sort of late. This is obviously the big pop push. She played the VMAs as well, and she got the serious artist treatment because it was like food and strumming guitars, and they probably had to tell the kids that they hire to be seat fillers in the front who she was, because they're probably like, "Wow!"
No, the kids know who she is.
Not the kids I saw walking down the street to go to that show, but that's how they all look like they were going to a really bad prom. Look, I think she's got a really good voice. I think she's an interesting voice in country music. She has clearly always had pop inclinations, and country music is pop in so many ways. For Christ's sakes, all these male country artists are getting their inspiration from the Eagles, for crying out loud. There's nothing remotely country about, or barely, and integrating hip hop and blah, blah, blah. I think she's really good. I think the record will probably debut #1 because she still has her country audience, which are fervor fans, and they actually buy records. They actually go out and buy records, You got the stats there already? Would she debuted or no?
No, not yet.
I think, I think she's an appealing person. She won, album of the year, for crying out loud. Right. So as you've said, where are you going to go from that? You can't make a niche record. She's not a Taylor Swift in that she's not trying to make dancey pop music. I will give her that. She's not trying to dance or whatever.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So she might be a good dancer. I don't know.
Right. But I have to say, I like this record. I like a Heartbreak album. I do like
her divorce.
Like, if you write a good heartbreak album, I'm into it, because we can all appreciate those emotions and those feelings. And it feels honest, and I'm happy for it. It's a good record.
And her first, and not her first, this is her 5th album, but the album before
it really broke her out. The gold
was the Yay, I'm Married record.
Yeah,
so it's
a good it's
like,
almost like the bookends of the situation,
Oops.
Right. Yeah.
Oops, I'm not married anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Yebba. Okay, so all right, so the last
You mean Abigail? I love it. Abigail Elizabeth Smith. It's smart to change your name to Yebba, right? Because when you first kept talking to me about
cool.
Yebba, I'm thinking she's some girl. I thought she was like some girl from someplace else, da. You know what I mean?
I know, it sounds sort of like Croatian or something like that.
And she's from Arkansas.
Well, what I thought
it's a great record.
It's a great record. What's really funny, it's like, okay, so the last Tribe Called Quest record, which I absolutely love, not a bad song on the album. There's one song called Melatonin, and it's one of my favorite songs on the album. And one of the things that's most compelling about it is the backup vocalist who sort of at the end takes the vocal lead on it. And I didn't have a copy of the album with credits because the late Gary Harris, bless his heart, sent me kind of like, here, just have it. I never knew who was singing the song. Mm-hmm. And I always loved that voice. And then I find out it's her. It's Yebba. And she has been a featured artist. She's on the new Drake record. This is the best thing I can. All right. First off, what I love about this record. She was on the
Sam Smith record. She sang with PJ Morton. Mark Ronson.
Mark Ronson helped produce. He's
Robert Glasper.
She's the real
Stormzy.
deal. Yeah, she's the real deal. I love that this record, first off, is under 40 minutes because I don't have fucking time. My motto has always been, an album should not take longer than it took me to go into labor. That's if I took me less time to have a baby. U2, Bob Marley made a record in 35 minutes. The Beatles made a record that was 35 minutes. U2 can do it. So I think it's great. There's no filler. She sounds like her own person.
Which I appreciate very, very much, because so many people sound like the same person. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that here comes an artist. It's like SZA, right? Mm-hmm. SZA doesn't sound like anybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know her voice when she sings. And I appreciate that, because as you and I have talked a lot of times, I used to be able to tell who's who. Now I have to literally Shazam and be like, well, who is this? Because everybody sounds like the same person. It's like that whisper sing.
Yeah, that barely singing.
Yeah,
that barely. So
she's interesting. Her cadence is interesting, and it's good songwriting,
It's good song. And shout out to our lovely, wonderful, I love her so much, Sarah Weinstein Dennison, who has been working her heart out to promote this record. And by all accounts, she's a really nice person too, Yebba. So that is great. All right, so you want to go from the sublime to the who gives a fuck?
Well, I mean,
someone gives a fuck. Someone gives a fuck, well, not us.
Someone does give a fuck. So I guess the Drake and Kanye battle, Drake won because in 3 days, blah, 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 blah. But how about this? Your record's still shit. It's a shitty record.
The Drake record, you mean?
It's a shitty record.
It's just boring.
And the Kanye record is too long and it's too bloated. And honestly, it's so funny. Like, we go through the whole buildup of those two, right? And now no one's talking about either of those records. And I live it, but here's the thing. I'm talking in Harlem. I am used to when a Drake album comes out, his songs coming out of all the stores. I live around the corner from a park. There's always playing music when they're playing ball. I hear his albums, cars going by. I have not heard anybody blasting this record or the Kanye record. And I'm used to hearing those records a lot up here.
I think Kanye has become, Kanye is, people blasting Kanye, I think, ended with 808 Heartbeat. I think that because Kanye no longer makes singles. Kanye is now an artist who happens to rap. I mean, he's gone off on a whole nother. I don't think it's any great shock that Drake outsold him, because Drake is a top 10 artist. He is a hit maker. And I've just never gotten Drake, but I'm not a young girl, girls think he's cute, blah, 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 blah. He does make catchy singles. Honestly, I wouldn't know if it's the new Drake song pumping out of a car, because they said this album sounds like every single Drake album.
I feel the same way. I'm like, oh, this is the new song?
Yeah. I know Tootsie Slide. I know the one, Started from the Bottom. I know the one.
Oh wait, I know that one. I know Tootsie Slide started, and I know the one that goes
the Lauryn Hill sample and the Lauryn Hill sample.
I'm in love with you.
Oh, you're one. Then you know four.
Something. That one.
Yeah. So my problem always been with Drake is that I just think that he is fundamentally. I mean, he gets the job done fine, but he's not interesting. He's not interesting as a person. He's just sort of. He doesn't stand for anything, and I don't mean politically. I mean, what is he? What is he? Is he the boy next door? Is he the champagne? I mean, give me a break. He just is as irritating, and we've had this as much as Kanye is an infuriating human being and an infuriating artist and an asshole of epic capital A proportions. You know what Kanye is about. It's no surprise what Kanye is about.
That's true.
Drake is, and this record is also getting very reviews. It's like, it's just like, it feels like a place filler, and it's obviously not, but it's so much
build up, right? It was like, so much build up to Certified Lover Boy. Then it came and it's like, blah.
I hate the cover too. It's a Damien Hirst cover of a whole bunch of cartoon women of all different races and ethnicities.
Damien Hirst, right? It's like, how deep into the artist barrel did you go? Oh, right here at the top, floating. Let me just pick that one.
Oh, Damien. Well, I had an ex-boyfriend of mine used to say that the reason that rappers reference people like Damien Hirst or Coldplay or whatever, it's like that's the last word they heard coming out of someone's mouth. Not just rappers. It's like, Bjork. Yeah. Have you ever listened to her? No, but somebody was talking about her. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Damien Hirst. Oh, Banksy. It's like somebody is meant Basquiat. Oh, okay. That's the last word they heard. So they're like, yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, that one's my favorite. So not just rapper, but I don't think that. Yeah, I just don't like the cover because I don't think there's anything amusing about the premise of your album being you're such a lover boy that you knock up hundreds of women.
One, it's dumb. The album's dumb.
It's dumb.
He's dumb. His head's too big for his body. Fuck him.
He looks like he has. I've always thought he looks like he has fetal alcohol syndrome. I'm sorry, but if I were a 14-year-old girl, they love him. Oh, Miss Linden, I love. I love him. He's so cute. And I'm like,
it's like, he says a boot.
That may be the one redeeming thing about him is that he's Canadian. Can I just very quickly speak?
Canadians.
Can I just very quickly, sorry, before we go into talking about our big topic, I do want to rest in peace to Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Who, oh my God.
This
was one of the most subversively funny. Go online and Google Norm Macdonald moth.
Right.
And you will pee in he was
between that and literally when they would do Jeopardy and he would be Burt Reynolds torturing Alex Trebek. Oh my God, it's so
Turd Ferguson. No, he was just one of these guys who was like a comedian's comedian, so funny, so subversive, so Canadian in a lot of ways too. And just Google his talk show appearances with Conan O'Brien or David Letterman, and just so funny. Just not ha 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 funny, like
thinking that's funny. Yeah.
I love so really very sad. And also George Wine, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, who founded the Newport Jazz Festival. So that's a great look. All right. You had a brilliant idea to talk about this next man, and so I think you should kick it off.
Miss Thing, first of all, I'm just trying to figure out no tea, no shade. I'm sitting in my front room talking to you. And next thing you know, Miss Thing, a giant rope just dropped down my window. I'm sitting here looking as this rope is going up and down. And I can hear them working. They're working on the roof. But do you know how jarring it is to be sitting and turn around and you're like, is someone trying to climb in my motherfucking this window? And if they are you cute? Because you can come in. Come on in. Come in. Stick it in. So my friend Allison, shout out Allison, who I've known for years. We worked together in Music World.
Allison Pember?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know Allison well. I don't know her well, but I have to say, I find her pictures of her dogs on Instagram to be like the happiest thing ever. She lives the happiest
she's in Seattle.
Oh, those pictures, every time I see those little puppies, I think they're fake. They're so cute.
And so she says to me,
sorry, I think she's great. Hi, Allison.
Yeah, she's always like, I know you like Sugar Babes and Pet Shop Boys. You know, I worked with both of them. She's like, she did. She worked Pet Shop Boys, Nightlife through
Astralworks,
through the release era. Okay. And she did Sugar Babes' first album, One Touch, which is this week is the 20th anniversary of that, and Siobhan's solo albums. She's like, so I have these CDs and stuff. I'm getting rid of them. Can I send them to you? There'll be some random vinyl and stuff in there. I was like, okay, cool. So I get the box. First, the box is humongous. And there's so much good shit. And in there was a bunch of Malcolm McClaren, which really sort of put me down, you know, and I own some Malcolm McClaren already, but like there was a bunch that I didn't have and it helped add to the collection. And it really just put me into a Malcolm McClaren K-hole. And his music was so hard to classify, right? Because he did sort of, it was like hip hop, it was like punk, it was downtown. To me, it's just like the music of downtown.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
And London 70s, of that time. Yeah. London of that time.
And it's like, I wonder why in the lexicon of music, no one ever talks about him. They don't talk about these records. We don't talk about crazy albums like Fans, right? Where he does his whole version of Madame Butterfly and Carmen and Loretta and Death of a Butterfly. It's a great concept album. And I know you don't always love a concept album. And
that is absolutely not true.
I thought you didn't always love a concept album.
No, I don't. No, that's absolutely not true. What lie told you that? It depends what the concept is. If the concept is white supremacy and mass annihilation, I'm not going to like it.
Well, there could be a couple of things in between before we get to that.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. But what do you think I prefer to call it a cohesive thematic approach.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of just shit like his album, like World Famous Supreme Team.
I love that stuff. I used to play that song at the Baby Doll Lounge. You know how much that used to drive the strippers crazy when I would play that?
And then, you know, his gorgeous album, Paris. You know what I mean? It's such a great album. Such a great album. And I don't know. It's just, I feel like we need to give him some love and bring some of these songs, put it back into rotation and stuff.
Can I just give a little backstory on who he is? Because he did not, Malcolm McClaren rose to fame. He was a manager and an entrepreneur in London. And he and Vivienne Westwood, who was his wife at the time, ran the very famous clothing store called Sex, which was where the Sex Pistols were sort of put together, the first boy band in a lot of ways. They were a boy band because they were put together by McClaren and Vivienne Westwood. And Vivienne Westwood, just for what it's worth, was the secret sauce behind all this. McClaren got all the credit, but not surprisingly, the woman did most of the work. And before that, McClaren had decided to bring the New York Dolls over to London because they were very popular over there, and blah, blah, blah. And he destroyed their career by dressing them all in red leather and putting hammer and sickles behind them and refashioning them as communists for some fucking reason. Because it's like, I'm sorry, this is the New York Dolls. There's a bunch of guys from the outer borough who dress like drag queens and are funky and glamorous and chaotic. And you're going to make them look like, okay, Malcolm, thanks a lot for that. So the Dolls, he screwed up the Doll, but the Sex Pistols is sort of where he got his thing. And then, you know, he's not without controversy. You have to watch, you know, he was not, you know, there's a lot of...
Here's the thing. A lot of people that people love come with controversy and they're not good people.
No, I'm not saying not a good person. I'm talking about business-wise. I mean, there is, you know...
And a lot of that in industry too.
Yeah,
listen.
But I'm just, you know, I'm just sort of giving a context. Yeah. And then he kind of was in New York. You know, there is look, I think his records are great. I was listening to Fans yesterday. He brings together like all these different artists. He's got Bootsy Collins, the Bootzilla Orchestra, and he brings together all these chanteuses. He was introducing Vogue before Madonna did. I mean, a year before Vogue came out, he did Vogue. So he was
from the Waltz Darling album.
Right. Willie Ninja and all these people, World Famous Supreme Team. He made stars out of two DJs on. But I will say I understand some people's kind of
resistance to giving him
cultural. There was there isn't, you always, I mean, when a white outsider is sort of like, there was a degree of kind of like, he was sort of like, he was the producer. He was the, he didn't play any instruments.
I'm going to say about that. There was a time and place where it wasn't really cultural appropriation because everybody was in the scene together. You know what I mean? And I feel like now we pick all of that apart and say, you did this, you took this. But the scene seems more segregated now than it was back then. Everybody especially when it's like hip hop, right? You know all of those hip hop writers and everybody because hip hop was a small world, especially back then. The writers, the community, especially you being white, it was just a world. There was a lot of white people were just in it together. They loved this music and working and doing whatever. And I think it was the same thing with downtown New York and London in those days. It's now that everybody looks at everything and they're like, you appropriated culture. It was like, well, actually, the culture was this melting pot. And now we've gotten to this place where it's almost like you can't be inspired by something for fear of people saying, you're appropriating this culture.
No, that I think, I agree with you. But I think this is I'm going to read the quote because he says, when accused of turning popular culture into a cheap marketing gimmick, he joked that he hoped it was true, that he had turned. So there was this punk rock element of he wanted to fuck with the system. So I'm not saying that he appropriated. He was never pretending to be black. He was never pretending to be gay. I just think that there's sometimes a sense of a puppeteer. But he did give a light to artists who were undersung.
And that to me is the important thing.
Yeah, like, and the music is great. The music is great.
And that is my point. You know what I mean?
It stands up. You can put on Fans right now, which is his sort of homage to Puccini. You can put on...
Play the Paris album today.
Oh, the Paris album is gorgeous.
It's just as gorgeous today as it was when it came out. Put on Duck Rock. You're still going to get all of those feelings. I like, who doesn't, if Buffalo Girls comes on anywhere, doesn't make you kind of do a little jig and shake? You know what I'm saying? It's like... No, he made great music, but... And again, it's like Nina Hagen. It's hard to put into a box what this is, right? But it's really cool shit.
I mean, I just think, and I do think, he kind of, to me, kind of does prove that punk rock had way more in common with downtown music and hip hop than people give it credit for. And I think what he tapped into was outsider culture, youth culture. He was definitely a con man. He was definitely the P.T. Barnum of music. Not a big surprise. He was definitely a scammer. Vivienne Westwood, again, did a lot more than he gave her credit for. Big surprise that he did destroy the Dolls' career, but I won't hold that against them. And I mean, what he did with the Sex Pistols, look, that was kind of like my musical awakening in terms of like punk and stuff like that. What he did with the Sex Pistols, we talk about marketing, brilliant marketing. I mean, the most brilliant marketing, because he made, they never sold any record, but he made them household names purely on shock value. Right. So yes, but you're right. The records are beautiful. Fans is beautiful. He actually, that was a big hit. He went gold, I believe. It's like Waltz, 1989, Deep in Vogue, like I said, before Madonna, a year before Madonna. I
have that vinyl, and I have the Waltz Darling album on vinyl, and they still sound great.
No, and a year before Madonna invented Vogue.
And with Willie Ninja in there serving full Vogue realness, giving it to you. Listen, I just think it's his catalog is worth a revisit for people.
No, it really is. And it's all available on Spotify.
And for all you DJs, you'll need to have some of these records in your collection. And, because he's still got those moments that if you know your music, you put some of those songs in at the right time and it's a full boom, they still hit.
I like that it sort of works as, well, I don't believe that music should be background music. I think but there is a sort of soundtracky element to his and he died, we should mention that he did die several years ago. But definitely what, looking back, he had his hand in almost every genre of important music, youth culture music, up until the day he died. You want to talk about some stuff you're listening to right now? or anything else you want to talk about?
Let me just say this. And you said we talked about her on the show before, Arlo Parks. Mm-hmm. This record first of all, it's almost a year old. Who knew? The record came out in January.
We've been busy.
But it came out the same week as the Celeste album. And I was really into that Celeste album. And I just missed it. But she's a 21-year-old queer artist from the UK, Black queer artist. And just the writing of it's so honest and mature and beautifully written and sung and produced album. And I can't believe I'm so late. Listen, her winning she won the prestigious Mercury Prize last week. And that's how I knew that this album existed. And this is why I'm glad for moments like that, right? Because you read something and music it's always there, and it was easy to go find it and fall in love with another young person. And I love to see young queer Black artists being celebrated and getting to write beautiful music and express their feelings. Because, for a long time, I think you and I have known this, we've worked with artists who we know are gay and have never been comfortable enough to really express it here in the US for years or had to hide it. And I love that these kids are coming out and they're speaking their truth. They're young and able to tell it with a certain freedom and be supported and not be afraid. So it's a beautiful record. And if people haven't heard it, they really should check it out.
It's very good. And I got sort of turned on to her because Michaela Cole used a lot of her music in I May Destroy You. So I would sit there with the Shazam going, what is this? What is this? And I discovered, it's funny you talk about, let's talk about this next time, because I do want to have a convo about Little Nas X. So I want to have a convo, but I don't want to do it right now just because.
No, let's do it. Fuck it. We're here. You can't say that at the end of the show and then not do it.
I can do whatever I want.
Let's talk about it. What do you want to say?
I have
some opinions.
Here's my thing about Little Nas X. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm a white straight woman and hence, just don't understand, I'm very happy that he is having his moment. I'm very happy that he can get up there and be gay and give inspiration. I just wish the music was better. It's just not good music. He's not a good rapper, and it's not because I'm not the audience. I know what good rap sounds like, and I can listen to it even if you're younger. I don't think he's a pop artist, which is great. He does not have a lot of support in the hip hop audience. And it's not because I think he's gay. I just think,
it's just that these aren't hip hop songs. These are pop songs with a guy who
I just wish they would stop. I just think I am bothered by the fact that he took that name, but it's fine if Nas doesn't have a problem with it. I just have always thought that Little Nas X is a fabulous, delicious dessert. But it's like, I mean, this is his first album coming out, which is crazy when you think about that. He's been here for 2 years already.
I'm going to save all my judgment until I hear a full body of work. I will say all of the stunts are fun. I love that he's having the straight kids get to do it. So I love that he's having his full gay fantasy.
Yeah.
I need to see a body of work. And he's coming with hits. I want to know what album number 2 is going to be like, because you already have 3 or 4 hits from album number 1, right? So let's see what that's going to be.
Yeah.
What is the growth from album 1 to number 2? That will tell me if you're here for a long haul, because I've been in this game long enough to see a lot of people who come, have a huge moment, sell a shitload of records, be celebrated, invited everywhere, come with that second album, and the audience has moved on and everything changes. So who are you? What is the growth? So I'm really happy for his moment right now.
Me too.
I don't think of him as a rapper. To me, he is a pop star, right? So I'm thinking of him as a pop act. I'm like, go down this road. Let's let this record come out. I want to hear what it wants to be. But I'm very, very curious to what album number 2 is. Because, yes, you could do a lot of stunts. Madonna was the queen of always having a different era. But what came with those eras was solid albums and hits that grew with each one. So who are you going to be in album 2 is what, because 14 outfits on the carpet and you can kiss boys. All of that's great. But you know, after a while, you keep doing it and it's like you're going to the same well, right? Like it doesn't
It's going to be tired. It's going to be predictable.
It doesn't have that same value of, look what he just did. So now you're going to have to really come to what is your artistry? And I need to see, can you do a full show? Because a TV performance, you can rehearse, you can do all of that. Can you give me, because right now you're probably not a 2-hour concert person.
Not at all.
Yeah. But you can surely have a 45-minute to an hour show. So I want to know, what does that look like? Does your voice hold up? Do you understand the difference between, you can't just keep jumping all around. You're going to have to sound good. So I want to see that progression as an artist. And I'm really happy for him. I'm happy for the success. I just hope he has a really great team that really understands that the next thing you have to do is you're going to have to take this on the road. And what do you present? How's it going to look? And I will know then if you're truly an artist or if you're just having, like a lot of artists do, you're having this moment where I hope you're being smart because you're making a lot of money. I hope you're investing and making really smart money.
I don't know how much money he's making.
But, he's making a zillion money. Listen, he's got a bunch of endorsement deals right now. You know what I mean? He's in commercials. So, you're making money. This is the moment where you have the hits, but you're going to get all of that. So I hope you're being smart.
Like I said, I think we're on the same page. I find him lots of fun and stuff, but I don't think there's as much there as there should be. But I am very happy that we're at a point in the culture where he's an internet. Listen, he was perfect made for social media to get up there and thank social. He's fabulous on Twitter. He's fabulous on the internet. I give it to him. Montero is catchy, but there's just like, I want to see.
Again, it's so not for us. And
doesn't matter if it's not for us because neither is Sugar Babes. Neither is any of the shit we listen to.
Well, actually, but Sugar Babes came out. That was more for, at least.
But you know what I mean. I don't want to be like we have to listen
when the Sugar Babes came out. You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that as music people, we do still have ears.
We do have the ears. We do. But what I realize is the young people's ears and how they're listening is so different.
True.
So it's like, you know what I mean? How they're listening is different because they can listen to these 14 mumble rappers who all sound the same and they're like, it's the best thing on the planet. They're hyped by it, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like that generation of from the 50s, those 50s parents who started hearing rock and roll and they're like, what the fuck is that? Like, why do you like that? That's scream.
Right.
Because I hear some of it and it just sounds like gibberish. And then there are the things like we talk about like a Yeba and some of these other artists who are perfect example. I think you and I both felt the same way about Olivia Rodrigo. At first, I didn't pay attention. You have a song called Driver's License. This is not going to be for me. This is clearly young. And then when I heard her album, I was so surprised. I was like, oh.
She's good.
And there's much more diversity here, and it's not as young as I thought it would be. Same thing, we talked about that with Billie Eilish when you made me listen to her, and I was like, oh.
And she looked amazing she looked amazing at the Met Gala.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this isn't like little kid shit.
Selena Gomez. Yeah. Who would have thought that I would listen to a Selena Gomez album? I mean not me. So I just wanted, because I've been thinking about, I am 100% in his corner. I just want to see, bring the goods now, baby. Yeah. We know that you can do a slam dunk and all sorts of fancy tricks on the court. Now let me see.
Let me see. Where's the meat? I'm ready for the meat.
Well, and I'm sure he wants some too. Boom.
And on that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Excuse me. I didn't talk about what I'm listening to.
Okay.
I just want to real quick say, for some reason, and you laughed at me for some reason, I have fallen into a Jackson Brown, Warren Zevon hole.
Like how? What? Why?
I'll tell you exactly why. I was reading something.
Not to diss him, because Jackson Brown was a great artist.
No, and so was Warren Zevon.
Yeah.
And not the later Jackson Brown, though. The stuff like the Late for the Sky and the first two albums, which is 1972, 1974. I had been reading some articles on Rock's back pages, and they were talking about Jackson Brown. And I started going, you know what? I turned against Jackson Brown because one of his wives, the bad marriage and his association with the Eagles, and the Eagles drive me up the wall. I knew every lyric on Late for the Sky. 1974, I was in high school. These are like, I was a singer-songwriter chick. I'm not ashamed to say it. So they're just beautiful records. And Warren Zevon to me is just an amazing songwriter. I think I'm even thinking about nominating him for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because believe it or not, he is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which kind of blows my mind. because he wrote, I don't know, I didn't mean to jump in, but I was just like, I'm so shocked that I'm listening to these people.
Well, it's classic shit, right?
74.
But here's the thing about really good songwriting. You can always come back to it because the songs are great. They're written well, they're sang well, they're performed well. And it's like, they're evergreen. And you have that moment where you get caught up in it and you end up, listen, like I told you on last week's show, me getting caught up in all of those old Dionne Warwick albums. It's like, I haven't, I love her. I play her a lot. But when going back and listening to the albums front to back, both sides, just the writing, the singing, the production, it's just, when it's done so well, I can listen to it forever.
What was funny to me, though, is the woman who can't remember where she put her fucking keys every morning knew every lyric on that album.
Right.
So I guess I can do it when I want to. All right, take it home, baby. Take it home.
All right, kids, you know the deal. So here we are, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. There are over 70 shows on Pantheon. Please check us out there on their main page. And while you're there, check out some of the many other shows. You like music? They have every type of show for you. Scripted, unscripted, really in-depth, great interviews, great people who were there, did it, every aspect. And then you know us. You're here. You're listening to us. Thank you. Remember to rate us. Tell your friends. Leave a star. We appreciate the support. And we appreciate talking to you on Facebook at ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. And on Instagram at ImmaLetYouFinish NY. On Twitter at FinishImma. On iHeart. On Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Thank you on Stitcher. Thank you for listening to us wherever you listen to us. And we will see you next week.
Stay safe, people.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.